You're on the couch, tripping with Dr. Pete.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's up, you guys? You got to excuse my voice this morning. So I coach football, and we're starting our preseason training, and so got to get them got to get them going, So my voice is shot, but I'm still on here anyway. So I'm looking to have some great early morning conversation. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Dr. Pete. You are on the couch, tripping with Dr. Pete. We're going to be talking about a little bit of everything, as we always do. But one of the things I just wanted to lead with is I just love the minds of my friends here on stereo. You guys here in the audience, you leave me these bubbles, and they're great. They're great. Let's have some real good conversation this morning. I'm down for it. I don't really give a shit where it goes. I just I want to be with you. You know what I mean? Let's do it.
Morning, Dr. P. I'm catching you wherever I walk into work. I pray your day is dope as always. Continues to be the greatest you. And yeah, I miss you, Dr. P. What up, though?
Hey, what's up, lady? Hey, she's hanging out. It's good to have you. It's good to have you. Look at you early in the morning hanging out. Yeah. Oh, and who is this? Good morning, bro.
Yo, Dr. P, my friend, man. What are you doing?
Yo, I did a show last night on alpha males, the breakdown of the alpha male narrative. But we kind of talked about this notion that the misnomer, the misunderstanding is that the beta is associated with this quote simp. And so people become very kind of defensive if you think like, and first of all, not everybody can be a fucking alpha, right? But there's this other thing that's it's not alpha versus beta. It's alpha, and then the complete opposite side of the spectrum would be the omega. And people, I think people really, no one talks about it in popular media, but that's really what the science kind of break down, and in the kind of the wolf observation, animal observation, that's what it was. So this omega is the one that really just has the least social confidence and will do mostly pleasing to get along. Like they'll really kind of defer and be kind of submissive in their energy, and that's really that's the kind of one that is lacking confidence. Whereas the beta is a male that is effective, but more collaborative. He works like the second hand to the alpha. And so you get a guy like me and Rocksteady, there's two alphas. There's no question about it. You look at Rocksteady on his fucking show. He's like a fucking rock star. He's got his chains on. He's got his beard cooking. Yo, man, I'm like, hey, listen. So when we start doing our shows and we're streaming, just under fucking stand, I'm coming in dressed, I'm coming in good looking, haircut. I'm not fucking around with you, Rocksteady. You're not gonna make me look like shit.
I think that'll be hard to do, to make you look like shit, Dr. P. But no, it's a good point that you raised there, man. Before, is that becoming an alpha male. I used to have a show with Elvis a long time ago, the Alpha Male Show. This is when we first started on stereo. It must have been about 12 months ago, even a little over 12 months ago from now. But throwing that question to you, what do you think some of the traits or what it takes to be an alpha male?
Okay.
This day and age.
I mean, we could talk about it for sure. I mean, today's alpha male, you know what I mean? Is there some difference? Is it the old alpha and today's alpha a different thing? And I do think it is. I think that what it takes to be an alpha male today is very different. The environment, it demands a lot more strategy. The notion of just being kind of aggressive or dominant and kind of plowing forward and kind of this old, the arrogance of the old alpha, I think it's largely ineffective. I mean, what do you think, Rocksteady? We're going to talk about it. I mean, we'll get into it, but I want to know what you think.
I didn't know that you talked about it before. So if you did and you went right into it, we can skim over this real quick. But I tend to totally agree with you on that. I think that the alpha male back in the day, quotation marks, is that
right.
It was that dominant, aggressive, bitch get in the kitchen type of a man, right? That was like, he's an alpha male, that's what it was like knuckles dragging on the floor with 5 o'clock shadow. But this day and age, I think it's much more
bitch, get in the kitchen. That's where we're going. That's the old alpha.
I think that's the way they used to display it back in,
That's it. That's it.
decades ago.
Well,
Like the woman never had a voice back then, and they do now, which is a great thing, by the way. I must say, it's not that I agree with what when I went back on, but generations from my grandfather, great grandfather, the stories I used to hear about my great grandfather, how he used to like beat my great grandmother. I never met them, it was before I was born, but I'm like, shit, they used to treat them like that everywhere back in that day, at least in Europe, where we were from, and I'm just gobsmacked. But that was an alpha male. There was no cucks around back then. But this day and age, there are a lot of cucks around too. However, I still think that if you can display, what's the word I'm looking for here? I guess
humility.
Not so much humility.
Think about it for a second.
Yeah, so I will think about it. Yeah,
we're talking. So we're talking about this notion of, alpha masculinity. Kind of like, what does it look like today? And I think today there is, in some ways, a man has to be a lot more sensitive. There's a demand for, like, so I look at it like this, and that's how I summed it up yesterday. It's kind of like the old notion of masculinity that is not tempered. It needs to be tempered by femininity. These energies are not mutually exclusive, but they should be connected. So in other words, today's man must also be in touch with the part of himself that's compassionate and, and sensitive, and, strong. Empathetic, right? So in his ability to love, which is important. So these are characteristics that are traditionally considered feminine. And so I think today's alpha must have that part. But here's the thing, right? So while he's connected to his emotions, able to cry, I believe that. I tear and cry often, and not like, excessively, but anytime it's relevant, I push to allow myself to feel the emotion rather than pushing it down. Because that's the difference, right? So it's like, you've got to be able to know your emotions, feel them, but also have a certain level of control. Not in certain moments when it's time for you to be strong, it's not time for you to be in contact with your emotions. That's, I think, the major difference, to be able to work with fears differently. So just because you can feel sadness, or you can feel the gravity of a moment and actually feel your emotions in that moment, that doesn't mean that, and I think that still the alpha must walk with a certain level of courage when it comes to fear. Like, there's a certain way that you've got to approach fatigue. That's another thing. That's like a real alpha thing, is like, fuck tired, right? Like that's a part of the fucking program, right? Like, so you have an orientation towards this shit that creates for grit. Persistence, ability to act in the face of your fears is courage. The ability to act in the face of your fatigue, that's grit. You get what I'm saying?
I do. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that these are important factors to have to be an alpha male in this day and age, right? And what it seems to be lacking is, in these newer generations, these snowflakes that are coming through, they're not really being built with resilience somehow. They're lacking resilience in the world. And this is really what's making them look like, or cannot become alpha males. I think that to be an alpha male, you have to be that stand-up guy. There's nothing wrong, like, with there's some red pillars on here on this particular platform that will talk about really suppressing women to dominate them in the way that they want to, and they say it's all stemmed from the caveman days, how we're all hardwired this way psychologically, and all this bullshit. Right now, sure, there's a certain fact that we are hardwired a certain way, but what they're not taking into consideration is the current cultures of the way that we are this day, and how women now have a voice that they never had before, right? So the playing fields are coming up where it's much more fair for women now than it used to be 40, 50, 60 years ago. And so they're becoming more independent. And these red pillars are trying to suppress that from a woman.
Yeah,
which is
I think that's bullshit. And I think there's a thing, dynamic that is going on where I think because women are fighting against oppression, the pendulum is swinging towards misandry or hatred of men, right? Because you have those guys who are trying to still kind of hold them down, and that's not all us as a whole. And I think the strongest of men, that would be considered, that would be a faux pas almost. Like it wouldn't be. That's not an honorable man to oppress a woman. And a real confident man, if you're truly confident, and that would be, confidence is a major kind of characteristic of the alpha. If you're truly confident, you look at your partner as a partner, and if you're right-minded, you look at her as a leader. Really. I kind of say to my partner, and I've said to her, yeah, I want you to be submissive to me. And she goes, at first she's like, I said, yeah, because I want to be submissive to you. I want to submit to you. I think that's what good marriage, good partnership, it has. And so this is, I don't think men are caught in that, because that's ego shit. I think that's weak ego shit. I mean, what do you?
It's fearful. They're scared,
right?
And they hide behind this big ego as though they're tough, but they're actually weak. That they have to actually find people that are weaker than them to suppress. I've had a conversation with, I don't want to name him in here because I actually get along with the guy, but I don't believe in all the things he believes in. Sure. Yeah, you must know. Yeah. And I had a conversation with him on
Dick. I feel like, and I'm going to be honest with you, this is not me talking shit. You've listened to a lot of my shows. You know I don't talk shit like that. I got to be honest with you. And then we're just going to talk for a second. We're not naming any names, but that's the type of guy. Let's talk for a second, Rock. All right? This is me and you. We're guy talking here for a second. Don't you feel like you'd fuck him up if you had to? Like, let's be honest. Let's just talk. You know what I'm talking about? Like he's not a dude that like among men, he's not fucking pulling any rank. He's not. I don't even feel like he's an alpha. To be honest, like gorilla silverback to silverback, I don't think he's in, bro.
So here's my outlook on that. Right, he's still young, and for a young kid, he's a go get him business wise. He's go get him. Good for you, kid. Right?
Yeah.
That's good. And I had this conversation with him a while back on Fireside.
Funny.
And I said to him, man, I've still got almost 15 years on you. And the way you're thinking is really like a kid in his 20s, man. And when you get older and you realize and understand that it doesn't work that way, you'll change. He's still set on his ways, right? The thing is, he shows me respect.
I mean, that's good. And you got to. I mean, and that's a big thing too, right? Is that he gets it. Right. But a lot of things, and this is a struggle of mine, because I'm not, I'm able to be big on stereo because I'm actually big in life. So you know what I'm saying? And I think some people, right, they're only internet big. I'm concerned about that. I hear that a lot of times. I don't trust it. I don't buy that that's how you talk to women. I don't believe
his ideology is dangerous. It's dangerous for the men that are following it. The men that it targets is they're all weak because they're all seeking something that they can't find, so they're easy targets to believe in this thing. This is the problem.
And I take great issue with that, Rock. I take great issue with that because
me too.
I feel like men, it's a men's obligation to make great men. That's another obligation of great men is to really hold men accountable to right standard. And these motherfuckers, and so like when I hear him, I want to be like, yo, man, shut the fuck up. I mean, I'm just talking straight to you. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? You sound like I'm gonna tell you straight up. And then he's a little arrogant with the shit. I'm just talking, all right? I'm just gonna keep it straight. And when I hear him talk, and that's not my style. So I'm never that way. Like I don't talk like, even if I want to talk like that, that's not how I talk. But I'm just telling you what's going on at the core of me.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
There's a part of me that has a feeling like, yo, you clearly, it seems like you've been so hurt, so broken that, and you want to deny that. No, that's not what it is. But for you have clear hatred towards women, clear.
Sure.
And whenever women come up, it's clear. It's not. And so if you can't see it, that just is an even greater, part of your pathology. right? That
Yeah.
you know, and so what you're trying to create is other men. You're trying to pass on your pain so other men follow that form, and I think it's fucking pitiful. I really do. I take great issue with it because that's the type of shit that has these women bugging the fuck out. Women are bugging the fuck
Absolutely. I've witnessed what happened with him with a woman he was sleeping with who actually was on about a week ago on stereo, and she'd had enough of the relationship that had been going on. And I was quite surprised to see she vented it out. And long story short, she was on for a few hours, right? Blast, like put him on blast, man. Now, this poor woman who was extremely intelligent, by the way, hadn't had that message reiterated to her. Rather, he was trying to suppress her, right? Until the point where she really figured out all this red pill shit. She was clever, man. She broke it right the fuck down.
Good.
And put it right out there. It was amazing. I actually messaged her and said, "Good for you. I'm so glad. Like you have got substance." Because I had a conversation with this gentleman a while ago and said all the women that you're pulling under this regime, under this like hypnotism, have got no substance. They're just boring as batshit.
Who wants that?
Who wants that? Exactly. Where's
that?
the stimulation? And what you're doing lacks integrity. Like the difference between you and I is that if I want to sleep around with a woman, right, and which I have done in the past, is I've been open about it from the start, and they can do what they want to do. And if feelings form, then we go for it. And if it doesn't, then we end it. And I've always been friends with all my exes and the people that I've slept with before because I've been an open book. Whereas the other way around, on the other foot, it seems like there's all just demands and it's all their way and not the other person's way. And if it doesn't go their way, they fucking hit the road or they crack the shits. And it's really turning women away, and it's not the way to do it.
It's weak. You know, I've had that point in my 20s, man. I think it's a part of your development. I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
In my 20s when I was, you know, I was good looking back in the day, Rock. Like
You're good looking now, Dr. Pete.
Well, no, thanks
now, brother.
But I'm fucking way overweight. I'm struggling working on the weight thing. But you know, I'm talking about I'm good looking and I'm in my older age, but I'm talking about I was young good looking. You know what I mean? Like where I stepped in the room and it was like the room was mine type of thing, right? So, and I actually modeled when I was in New York. Like I was walking down the street coming from the gym. I had no shirt on, fucking no shirt on, Rock, no shirt on. I was walking down the street in New York with my shirt tucked into my pants, coming from the gym, and I fucking got my bag on my shoulder, and I'm fucking walking down the block like in a nice glistening sweat, just coming from a workout. And this, these folks come up to me and they're like, "Hey, listen, we'd like you to model for our magazine. We're doing a shoot about the boroughs." So I was Mr. Harlem, but I never got into the magazine. It was Vibe magazine. You fucking, that's like huge. So that's how good looking I was. And even then, no matter how good looking you are, you're still struggling, like to kind of want to be better. There's points in your thing that you're kind of focused on. You're focused on your limitations. So even then, I still was kind of in this place where, I felt good about myself, but it was kind of still proving to myself that I'm dope. And I had my heart broken. This woman kind of, I was in a long-term relationship. I always believed in love, was always, kind of a relationship guy. And this woman broke my heart. And when she broke my heart, I started fucking wilding. Like I started at one point I had slept with 3 different women in one day, just because I was like, and there was a place where it was just acquisition after acquisition. You know what I mean? It was like I'd meet them, bag them, have sex with him, and it was just at a point I just woke up and I was like, I'm fucking lost. This is empty as shit. Yep. There's no more love. I don't feel the love. I don't feel that connectedness. And so you wake up and you say, what are you doing at a point? And I realized I was trying to repair my broken self-esteem. I was trying to repair my broken heart. That woman had made me believe I didn't have worth or value. And so now I was looking for it. And I realized when you don't have love, you're kind of looking for the like every time a woman chooses you, she affirms you. She says, you're worthy. but it's not enough if you don't believe it's enough. So that her choosing you is not the thing. You're like, okay, so where's the next woman who can choose me, affirm me, and tell me I'm enough? And it's not just about sex. People have that all fucked up. And I talk about this all the time. Like, people try to oversimplify male psychology. It is not just about putting your penis in vagina. That's not the case, because it doesn't even matter if the vagina is no good. Like, if the sex is bad, it's another one that you've gotten that has chosen to give you herself, and that is affirming.
That's it. That's it, brother. That is exactly it. And like everything you just said, I went through the same shit. I went through exactly the same shit in my 20s, right? And in fact, it was the year that I hit 30 where I really woke up and thought, I'm over this shit, right? So it was about the game. I guess it evolves, right? It evolves from a point where you start to, you start to get confidence in yourself. You're able to start to pick up women, and you start to think, hey, I can win this one over. It's almost like a challenge, right? And what's attached to that challenge is the end game is the sex. So once you get that sex, it's like it does become a game. You lose sight of what the hell is really going on, to the point where it is so empty. And I was doing the same thing. I was triple dipping Dr. Pete in the day. So let's high five there from back then. But
you are younger selves.
Oh, brother. And you're right when I said I try to fill the void. Triple dipped, man. I've done that several times, brother. So because we're avatars, we would be chest bumping in real life if we were in front of each other, ladies and gentlemen. But to fill that void, I was engaged to a woman when I was 26 years old, 26, yeah. And we broke up kind of suddenly after, not too long after we actually got engaged. I was with her for 2 years, and I was so hurt, man, that I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to be with, a woman for a long time until that point where I did. And then I went on a fucking rampage, man. I think it was like in 9 months, I was with like 45 different girls. Yeah. That's going on a rampage. That was filling that void until you realize that it's so empty. It's so pointless. It's like, I just wanted to stop doing it, man. When I hit about 30, I kind of gave up just even wanting to go and pick up women. I just didn't want to be around it. I just wanted to just chill. Yeah. And it was from not long, maybe a year and a half into that is where I met my wife. Right. When I wasn't looking for anything, I was chilled. When I was looking for something so much and couldn't find before, and going through all these women to get to it, realizing it was just a dead end, to actually putting the game down. Yeah. And then the real stuff hits you in the face because you open yourself up.
You change. Because you change in that time. When you retreat to the cave, your perspective shifts in a way where you turn inward. This is different for women, I think. And I don't know this. I'm just thinking out loud. So please, nobody this is not like me. But because I think right now in our society, it seems like it's set up where women are fighting more for the commitment, right? And so I think it takes men to become reflective and to kind of like raise themselves, kind of turn inward, get silent, mature a bit. And I think that's what happens when they retreat to the cave, is they mature a bit, and then they're in the same kind of value structure. And so what you're looking for, you kind of start to have a different standard for what you want to invite into your life. I had that happen. I didn't do that when I was in my 20s. What I did was something a little bit different. I got so scared by the person that I was being. I just told myself, and this was, I don't know if this is right or wrong, but I just told myself, the next one that I feel strongly about, I'm marrying. And that's what I did. I rushed it. Within 6 months, I was engaged, which is it. And again, that was purely kind of swinging the pendulum, just trying to fucking figure it out.
How old were you then, Dr. Pete?
28,
yep.
29.
Yep.
Right.
Sure.
So I'm scared to death of losing myself, and had this stalker, this woman, she stalked me. And that was really a part of the wake up too, because I started to realize what are you, who are you, what are you doing? You're hurting women. And I guess I feel like any man who doesn't have that realization moment that he's not being a good man and doesn't check himself on that, you're out here just running through women, crushing them, betraying, there's something up. If
Yeah.
you know, it's one thing when you kind of can get away with it. You know, you're dating everybody, you're telling everybody I'm dating, you're having a good time. But then when you find yourself in a position where you've actually hurt someone and you're aware of it and you do it anyway, you got fucking deep problems. So for me,
Sure.
that was enough. I didn't need to hurt her and then go ahead and hurt another person. No, I was like, this is not fucking me. I'm a better man than this.
Mhm.
I don't know if that makes sense to you, but
Oh
I
man,
think,
it makes total sense.
yeah. Let's pop some bubbles. What do you think, Ryan?
Let's do it, brother.
Let's do it.
All right.
Lefty Lowe's.
Oh man, Dr. Pete, you're onto something. So I work with an old school alpha, good old boy, as we like to call him. And it's so funny because we're both in leadership roles, but our roles are so different in the way that we lead. I'm a very collaborative, empathetic, open door leader, and it's very effective versus he's got to be in control and constantly telling you what you're doing wrong.
Yeah.
And just the difference in the way that our leadership is effective. I mean, he's a good leader, but his people fear him versus my people feel like they can come to me. And I feel like the latter of the two is so much more important.
So much.
But we got to remember that aggression stems from self-esteem issues, from fear. Aggression is a secondary emotion.
Yeah, that's really good.
Mhm.
She's right and right and
Fantastic.
right. She's right and right and right. Aggression is a secondary moment. It is anger and aggression are typically ways. When she says secondary emotion, she means underlying those emotions are typically fear or sadness. So people, when they feel sad, anger is a much easier emotion to experience. Sadness makes you feel weak and powerless, whereas anger makes you feel powerful, and it also pushes people back from you, given your weakened state. It's a very common defense mechanism. Fear, same thing. Right. So if you feel very scared of a thing, anger says, I will flare up and feel powerful where I'm actually feeling very weak and potentially vulnerable and compromised. You get how this kind of pairs? Well, so she's right on.
Thank you for breaking that down.
Yeah.
Thank you for breaking that down, because people say that anger stems from fear. I'll try to break that down in my mind, but the anger also stemming from sadness, I can now understand from the moment you said that. Then a lot of people who experience these emotions of depression ain't still snap and get angry.
There you go.
That's where it's coming from.
There you go.
Places like that.
Yeah. And so you look at homicidality. It is the outward vent of pain versus suicidality, which is the turning inward. So homicidality is turning outward with the pain, the same pain though. They're extremely saddened people. And it actually, this was a major lesson for me. If you can look at whenever you deal with somebody who's bothering you don't like them, the source of compassion is to seek out and look for their pain. When you look for their pain, you'll usually see it. And now you will no longer react to the anger. It's amazing. Stay with me just for 1 second. Let me just explain that well, because I had my old therapist who passed away recently. He's a supervisor. He wasn't a therapist. He was my supervisor when I was first learning therapy. I had this patient come in when I was in the clinics, and I'm a young doctor in training, right? I'm at Columbia, and this fucking guy comes in, and he's like a little crazy, and nobody else in the clinic could really handle him, right? These are all students, right? Student doctors. And so nobody else can handle him. So they gave him to me because I was pretty good with patients. But I was kind of scared of this guy because he fucking become like really angry during his sessions. And like, I almost felt like I was gonna have to punch him in his mouth, which was crazy. I was talking to my supervisor, like, I don't know about this fucking guy. I feel like he kind of scares me a little bit. And he was like, the fear that you're feeling is the fear that he's feeling. That's what is going on within him, right? And so he's projecting out this anger and this rage. But if you can look past the anger and see the sadness, and you talk only to the sadness, it'll change everything. And these are this is one of the greatest lessons I've ever had as a therapist and as a human. And I did it. And when I did it, this guy melted. He just started crying. He would yell at me, but he wasn't yelling at me. He was yelling at me about his mother and his relationships and his rejection. And when he would yell at me, and I would speak to the sadness, and I no longer feared him. I felt sorry for him. I really saw him. We connected differently. And let me tell you, I moved that guy. He did great work from that forward. And so did I. I mean, it was, and so, but for you guys, for anybody who's listening, when you see someone who's angry, connect to their sadness and it will deflate their anger. It's amazing. And it gives you power of compassion. You don't have to fear them, because that's what happens with an angry. See, like, and even if you tell your partner, you say, babe, you don't have to yell. You don't have to tell me, just tell me how you're hurt, or let me see how you're hurt. Because here's the thing, right? And now I'm going to give you this, women, particularly sisters out here who can be kind of considered angry. You're not angry. You're in pain. You've been traumatized. You've been hurt. You've been run through. You're fucking miserable with what has gone on in the state of relationships. And so what people are calling anger is just a defensive reaction and a survival mechanism. Check this out now. What I'm telling you, though, is when you find a good man, you don't have to use anger, because with a good man, if you expose your pain, a chivalrous, right, honorable man will no longer want to hurt you. His compassion will be evoked, and he'll move into a position of the hero. He'll want to save you. Now, I'm not saying play damsel. It sounds like I'm saying that, but what I'm saying is, if you think you evoke a better man by being angry with him, you will not. Because he will respond to your anger in kind, and you will level up into a space that you probably don't want to go toe-to-toe with that man. Am I making any sense here, Rock?
You're making so much sense that if you as the listeners are not fucking taking notes and writing this magical shit down, this is like such a powerful thing that you're saying in life in general that I could have used so many times in the last so many years and for the years to come. I think this is just the most fantastic bit of information I've heard in a long time, Dr. Pete. Thank you so much, man. That's fantastic.
It is
golden.
It really is a thing. And so if you, instead of telling, this is what you do, instead of telling your partner, and this is man or woman, right? Just instead of telling your partner, you pissed me off, right? Like, I'm fucking pissed. Like, I'm really hurt here. I'm lonely here. I'm sad here. When you come from that space, it should have them join you. Because when you come from the angry space, the very thing that anger does is push them away, and then you're left even more sad and alone. And the loop gets created. It's like a negative biofeedback mechanism. It works, it spirals downward and creates more distance between you. It's just ineffective. Anyway, so let's pop some of these bubbles and see what's going on.
Let's do it.
Yeah, it's good to hang out with you. I'm Dr. Pete. This is Rocksteady. We're just talking a little bit about everything. So hold on, because I think we were talking about the alpha male. We were talking about that. What'd you call it? Triple decker?
Triple dip. Triple dipped.
I definitely agree with you, Dr. Pete, about what the new alpha male should be. And I think that the defining line between an alpha male and toxic masculinity is not pushing those emotions down and expressing them in a healthy way, and being able to communicate them. I feel like the toxic male isn't taught properly that you can be an alpha and still express your emotions and still be empathetic to other people's emotions.
Yeah. Well said, and thanks for the comment. It's so interesting. Rock, you tell me what you think. To me, and maybe because I'm getting old too, but it just kind of feels like you can it's apparent, the insecurity in some of these men. Like, if you can't cry, to me, you look weaker to me. Like, if you gotta repress, like, if you're in a sad moment where emotion is warranted, and you're joking and laughing, to me, it seems like it takes the greatest strength to be vulnerable enough to actually access those emotions. To me, from my perspective, I'm looking at you like, I almost would have greater respect for you as a man if you can feel in this moment that sure. Demands, that warrants, being in tune with.
I'm trying to think of another way to put that for you, right? Is when I remember, so I put on a pink polo shirt one time to wear, and someone's like, "Oh, what, wearing pink? What are you, gay?" And I'm like, "No, I'm man enough to not worry about having to feel gay by wearing a pink shirt, right? Like, are you to worry about that stuff? There's nothing wrong with being gay, right? Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy that will happily hug a gay friend. That's
Yeah.
no problem. But
Yeah.
some guys get freaked at that, and they're the ones that are questionable a little bit in themselves. Like, what are
There
you
you
scared of?
go.
What are you worrying about, man?
There
Like,
you go. If you're scared, if you're homophobic, you're struggling with some part of you that is insecure about your sexuality. That's just the reality.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I have gay patients who I love them, go to their, like I go to birthday party, whatever it is. You can't, if you're fearful of connecting to that person, that means you're not confident in your lane, bro.
Sure.
Like, what's
Sure,
going
man.
on? Your sexual orientation does me none. Like, it has nothing to do with me. It's none of my business. Like this. So yeah. So we're popping these bubbles. I'll tell you, Rocksteady. I had there's this. I don't know if you know Drake. You know Drake, of course.
Yeah, I know Drake. Yeah,
Drake is known throughout the world. So Drake has this video where he goes. He's in this pink jacket and he's crying, right? And he's just, the name of the video is something like Cry, and I got to get the exact name of the video. So in the video, though, he's crying, and his boy walks up to him, and his boy's faces, though, are priceless. His boy goes up to him, he's like, yo, what's going on, yo? He's like, oh, and Drake's just crying. He's like, it's just been a hard year, man. You know what I'm saying? He's like, I'm just going through it, like an emotional warrior, like, and guy's like, wait, what? And he's like making but it's so funny because that's how we are among men, right? Like, and then his boy's like, come on, man. Then Drake's like, yo, you got a tissue? He's like, a tissue? He's like, nah, a tissue? What would I be doing? It's just so fucking good. If you gotta see it, it's the funniest shit. But it just reminds me of that's what I love about Drake, is that he's strong enough of a man to put himself in these positions where he's like, I can laugh at myself. I don't take myself that serious, but I also can express, I know what you're thinking when you watch me cry. And, this is, it's just a beautiful thing, man. I like that. I got a man crush on Rocksteady and Drake. Those are my two man crushes. Hold on for a second. Here we go. I'm going to pop these bubbles.
I appreciate you guys having this conversation and urging people to be the stand-up guy. This is a PSA. The nice guy does not finish last. I know a nice guy that married the hot girl and ended up in the top of his company in a beautiful house with a nice family and 5 figures in savings in his bank account. So, y'all, be the nice guy. It pays off.
Be the nice guy. Yeah. Here's the thing, though, right? You can't to be nice is to, it's about confidence, right? It's about timing. It's about situational awareness. So the new alpha, the modern day alpha, he has to kind of have a certain level of swag and ability to kind of, know his lane, stay right in it. And typically most men who are successful know it's lonely in your lane. To be exceptional is just that, to be the exception. To be outstanding means you stand out. And so the alpha has a certain confidence that says, it's okay that I'm different than most. I got to do it my way. You know what I'm saying? And you can kind of feel that energy. I got to say, though, they're also clear about doing men's things. In one of my pictures I have recently, I posted I'm smoking a cigar. That's a man thing to do. I don't give a shit if I like the cigars, and I find the cigars I like. But smoking,
I feel like I'm Schwarzenegger. That's right. Like, you
come
can't
on,
help those
bro.
sort of things,
It's
right,
a
man? I know
fucking man thing. Right.
There are some. There's some things I still absolutely fall into that, and I love being a man's man. That's what it's about. But including in that is about, for me, one of the really important things about being an alpha male is being a stand-up guy for your family, teaching your son how to be respectful, teaching your daughter how to be a woman, not to take shit from these red pill type of guys, having to support. Like, I think that's really about being a stand-up man with integrity. That's really what it takes to be an alpha male these days.
Is a superpower for sure. And even, I've gone as far as, even this notion of polyamory, monogamy. I've talked to my wife, from the very beginning when we were dating, I've always told her, I believe in polyamory. I believe in monogamy as well. I just think that monogamy has to make sense. And if it happens naturally, it happens naturally. But if I know myself now that if I'm not fulfilled and I'm looking for outside energy, first of all, I'm going to be careful about what it is because my family's a priority. But I'm also I think there's such power in being able to fully explain who you are and saying, this is the person that I am. This is what goes on for me. Can you accept it? Do you want to roll with me? You have to kind of trust that your person is going to get it. Now, a lot of people don't do that. They kind of creep on, like hide themselves. I think that's a fucking major mistake. If you're hiding yourself, and you tell me what you think about this, Rock, this is the thing. They don't know you, and you know they don't know you, right? So how the fuck does either one of you love each other?
Yeah, how do you grow? How do you hide that forever? You can't. You can hide it for a while. Yeah. And they do say, right? They do say that people in relationships usually that mask. When you first meet someone, you always put your best foot forward. I don't give a fuck what you say, right? You are always trying to impress. Yeah. You're trying to wear your best clothes. Yeah. You're trying to be the best person you are. And you might start dating, and you might start sleeping with each other. And months go by, 6 months go by. You're still you've got comfortable, and you let some of your guard down. I don't believe everyone's always let their full guard down, but you hit about a 2-year mark and those people's masks have come completely off. I really think a person's quite real after that point in time. You will fight with each other. You'll fight in front of each other. You'll do whatever you want in front of each other. And that's how you really tell how a person's like. Now, if you're talking about people hiding who they really are, they can't hide it for that long. They might be able to hide it for even a few years, but it will eventually come out and it will eventually can fuck you over, right?
Yeah. Here's the thing too, honest conversations bring you closer. The conversation we're trying to avoid, because let's say you say, I really just am not feeling fulfilled here and I have deep attraction to another. Maybe your partner can talk about why. And maybe they can say, well, I do too. Maybe we can put some rules to this thing to make it so we can, make sure we're connected and anchored in with one another, but also fulfilled. Who knows where it can fucking go? And, not even giving it a shot and trying to go into the dark. That's where shit gets bumpy, because it's only cheating if you didn't talk about it. Hold on for a second. Let me pop a bubble here. If it's a breaking of the rules, I should say. Hold on. Let's see. We're gonna get through a couple of these.
Do it.
Great thoughts out.
You guys talk about red pill and you talk about alpha male. Those seem one and the same to me. I don't think there is such a I don't know. I'm in here. I'm going to read a little bit more. Much love. Let's go.
Do you think there's a difference there? Because I don't think they're the same thing. Red pill and alpha male. What do you think?
I think that red pill guys are alpha males too, but I think they're the wrong type of alpha males. So they're still alpha males. It doesn't mean they're good alpha males. I think they're fucking atrocious alpha males. They're arrogant. I think they're too self-centered, and they definitely lack integrity. And if I had to put it, there's other alpha males that do have those things. So you put those two types of alpha males up against a woman, which one do you think she's going to choose? I think she'll choose the one that's more in touch, empathetic, still an alpha male, who's got integrity, over the other one who's just an asshole. But there's some people just like fucking trouble, right? There's some chicks that only go for guys that are assholes. There's some chicks that only go for guys that are gangsters. There's some chicks that only go for guys that are footballers. And for whatever reason, for their own reasons, they're wired that way to do that. But I think if you're talking about people, I'm not saying that these people don't have substance. There's something attractive about these bad boy situations to women, for sure. I don't know what it is in there, but there's an attraction there for women for that. But do they last long term, years down the track, with that guy still being like that? I think for it to last a long time, that woman has to potentially lack substance,
So here's the thing, right? This when he says red pill and alpha are the same, no. What we're talking about with red pill is an awareness. That's what essentially it was in the Matrix. That's what it is. It's an awareness of kind of what's going on here sociopolitically. There's a powerful voice, no matter what. Here's the thing that people mistake. Society, power has very different dimensions. And in terms of communication, in terms of conscientiousness, effective, women are extremely powerful. They may not in an interpersonal interaction. Yeah, maybe men will, take up more airspace. But in terms of writing, women are pounding out the writing because they have the consistent discipline to do so. So in this world of social media, women have a very strong voice. We know that, right? We can see it influencing society in a big way. And their resistance, the feminist movement, it is kind of swung in such a way where it's now kind of starting to really have, like we talked about before, a misandry as a part of it, like a hatred towards men that's become a part of it because how much of they've been victimized. And now, as a result, they're kind of using some of their oppressed state to victimize men. And I'll talk about what that looks like. It's not the same victimization, it's a different thing. So this concept of mansplaining, for example, right? So anytime now, there have been a history of men taking up all the air in the room, right? Talking over women, telling women, what their reality should be. Absolutely, right? There's been that. But now, anytime a man has an opinion, he's mansplaining. Anytime someone gives a discourse that has, so men's voices are being shut down. That's just one example of the red pill awareness, is to say, now don't allow your voice, because now what I've seen is men are so fearful of being a part of this oppressive, sexist energy that now they're compromising their perspective. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. Yeah. And just to swing it around a little bit, back to the question though, Dr. P, is do you think that whether it's right or wrong, whether they're the right type or not, do you still think that these red pillar guys are alpha males in any way?
I just like, I think you said it well. In every group of men there are alphas, but not everyone in the group can be an alpha. There's no way. That's not how it works. Right? Sure. And my feeling is, if most of the time, it doesn't matter what was going on in the world, an alpha never really would succumb to anybody else's path. So I don't know. I think the red pillars are the people who are trying to fight for voice. I get what he's saying. And so like the alphas will say, hey, no, this is the way. I will not be misled by popular demand. And I think that is true. But I think if you don't have that going on for you already, I don't think you're an alpha.
Sure. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know.
I like the way you put that. And I'm a little concerned because there's a friend or two of mine that I know that are starting to take that track and asked me what I thought about it. And I told them my thoughts about this track, which I don't believe the way that the path of this red pill thing is good. Yeah. However, I'm not there to tell them don't do it. I just told them I wouldn't do it. But they're still proceeding with it and seeming to be happy to be almost swallowed up into this cult. Yeah. And I can see that the person that's leading them, and I'm not saying it's the person on this app either, it's somebody else, is particularly like an alpha male to that group of males, but really throw him into a group of the real kind of alpha males, and he'll be crushed. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm talking about. He'd be crushed. That's what the fuck I'm talking about. And there's no thing, I can't really put my finger on or how to explain that shit. I just know it. You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing these are intellectualizations. This alpha state is not an intellectual thing. It's not something to be described. It's something to be experienced. You know what I'm saying? And we're trying to put words to capture it. But the reality is, a lot of these guys, I can feel it when they're talking. I'm like, yo, you're weak, bro. You're weak. If you have to stand, if you can only be strong by pushing someone down, you're fucking weak.
I agree.
You're fucking weak. The strongest of men lift while they climb.
They do that, and I noticed that they're the real leaders. They bring crowds of people with them. They build those communities. They have people surrounding them, and they will acknowledge that the people around them are what helps push them to their successes, and that's what helps them become a leader and helps them become alpha, because of the good people around them that they've built together. You know, not suppressing people to try and push yourself up, stepping on people. That's bullshit.
That's beautiful, bro. I mean, that's real. I'm so glad. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have all these thoughts in me, but there's nothing like being on stereo. They fucking bring it out. These conversations there's nothing like it, bro. I've done wisdom. I've done the other platforms. I've done, and yeah, I can sit in my own fucking echo, but I don't even know where the pertinent questions are because I'm only bouncing off what I'm thinking about. And then when that guy comes in with that question, what a fucking question. What a question. Is it the same fucking thing? What a question. Let me tell you this, and this is why Socrates surrounded himself in fellowship the way it is, and I believe in the Socratic method. The questions, man, that's what pushes the thought. I never told anybody this. This is the first time I'm saying this on stereo. The reason why I said ask Dr. Pete is not because I want you to come in and give advice. I say it all the time. I'm not here to give advice. It's because the questions push the thinking. That's what you ask yourself the right questions in your life. You will become more of a person. It's all about the questions you have to ask yourself. If you don't have the answer, you're not asking the right question. You're not having the life that you want. You ask yourself some questions. What am I up to? Who have I been being? These questions that come up naturally from folks, it pushes your thinking. It pushes the conversation to a critical point. I love it. Love it. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with us. You guys mean so much to me. I love these stereo conversations. Rock, I'm loving this conversation with you, man. I can't wait to start to do Friday nights. The cigar bar with Rock Steady on Friday nights. Yo, we're going to be talking
This is Dr. Pete, and you've been tripping with Dr. Pete. For the full show, please listen to us live on stereo, or you can listen to playbacks on YouTube, Anchor, and Spotify. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, huh? Peace.